Well, I've made all the calculations for how big the top cabinet that fits on the base should be. I'm going to be making out of maple, and here's the material that I milled up for it. I've got it all marked out, which pieces are going to be the sides, the top, and the base. Each of the 4 pieces are going to be made out of the same board, and I just need to cut these up, edge glue them together, and make the panels. Just very quickly, I'm going to show you how I glue these panels up. We've got the base for the top cabinet here. Got it all marked out, which sides go where. And these panels are pretty small. I don't feel the need to put biscuits or dominoes or anything in that like there. So, just going to spread some glue out. These 2 halves together and slide them back and forth a couple times. And just clamp them. Make sure that those are flush in the middle. And I'm getting a nice bead there to squeeze out. So that should be good enough. So I'll check it for flatness. And it's perfectly flat. I'll just let this dry, scrape off the excess glue, and do the other 3. Well, I've got the glued up pieces out of the clamps. I'm just going to take the card scraper and just want to make sure that these seams are nice and flat. It really doesn't take much, just 2 or 3 passes. A nice sharp card scraper, and it'll even out that panel. Based on the measurements I took off the base itself, this is the bottom part of the cabinet, and it needs to be 10 7/16 of an inch. The way I like to cut these down to width anyways is I like to start from the center and mark out. And I've just made 2 little tick marks of the sides I'm going to cut off. And I like to keep, again, any seam that is visible, I like to keep it in the center. So my first cut, I need to make about 11.5 inches, where I'll take this part off, flip it around, and then cut it to final width on the table saw. Real quick, make sure we're square. 4 and 24 on the nose. So this is the base again for the cabinet that sits on top of it. So I'm going to actually build up from here. Now, based on what I know about how I want to build this cabinet, again, I'm going to build from here up. The doors are going to be 3/4 of an inch thick. And I want an 1/8 of an inch reveal all the way around the base of this cabinet. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to mark 7/8 of an inch up. I'm going to measure that. It's 9.5. So my sides are going to be 9.5. Now I've got the measurements from the base of the cabinet itself. I need to measure out from the seam. And again, make these panels 9.5 inches wide, and the height of these panels is going to be 25 3/4. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut those now. I'm going to join the sides of the cabinet to the base of the cabinet using dominoes. I've already marked out where I'm going to put the dominoes. I'm using 6x40s, and I'm going to put 4 in each side and in the bottom. And again, there's a 1/8 inch reveal on each side. So I've marked that line out. What I need to do here is I'm trying to put a carpet maker's triangle to indicate that side. Then I'm just going to extend the lines a little bit onto the bottom. I'm going to do that to both sides. I'm getting ready to cut the mortises in the sides of the case for the dominoes. And again, I'm using 6 by 40 millimeter dominoes. So I actually want to cut 25 millimeters in the sides and 15 millimeters in the case. So case bottom. So I've got that depth stop set correctly. I've got the fence set to 20 millimeter depth. And again, I'm always going to reference off the top face here, or the side face. And I've got the first cut I'm going to make is on the tightest slot, which is going to be here. And then as I do the other 3 slots, I'm going to go to the second widest setting. That'll make sure this is flush where I want it and give me a little bit of wiggle room in the back when I put the dominoes in. Getting ready to cut the mortises in the base of the cabinet for the dominoes. Now remember before I said I want a 1/8 inch reveal right here. So referencing off the top, which is where I made the marks, I want to loosen this fence. I'm going to move it up, and I've got a setup bar here that I know is 1/8 of an inch. So if I put that on there, lower it down, and lock it in place, I know my mortises are going to be 1/8 of an inch lower on this than they are on the cabinet sides. Well, I've got a couple dominoes in these mortise slots here, and these are special dominoes I've made up. Dominoes are not very good for dry fitting together, they're very tight. So these are just lightly sanded ones. Again, I use these for dry fitting. So what I want to do first is I want to put the sides in here. Make sure they're flush to the back. Alright, and I'm going to be putting a top brace on this. So this is one of the pieces right here. I've already cut one square edge, so I'm just going to put that inside this right here, line it up against the other one, and then I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to make a mark on the piece. So now I know that this piece right here is going to be exactly the same width as this right here. And again, that'll go on the top to hold the top piece together. Well, after I've got the pieces cut for the top, one's going to go here in the front, one's going to go here in the back. These are going to be held together with dominoes also. I've got this piece temporarily clamped in here and made sure the top is flush on both sides. And I've just taken my combination square, and I would be putting 2 dominoes here. I just want to go across both pieces on the top. On the bottom of that rail. And I'll do the other side and then do the bottom piece. Here's the piece I'll dry fit together. I've just got some light duty clamps on it right now to hold it together. And it's perfectly square, which is very nice. All the surfaces are also nice and flush. So I'm very happy with the way this came out. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting the rabbets in the back for the back panel. I'm getting ready to start to cut the rabbet on the back of the case. I've got a 3/8 inch rabbet in big setup, and it needs to be 3/4 inch deep. So what I want to do is I want to do this in at least 3, maybe 4 passes. I'm just going to turn on the router, put the piece on top, and slide it all the way around the table. Moment of truth is turn this over and see how it came out. The secret to doing this is making sure you keep pressure on this piece on the table and also against the bearing. And also a couple times as I was going around, I hit some switchback grain and it started to splinter. So the piece is big enough and I feel I'm in control enough. When I know when I hit those pieces, I can go and make a climb cut to finish those. But it is maple, so it does splinter easy. Alright, it came out very nice. Got a test piece over here to make sure the depth is good. And this piece is just a little proud of the back. That's the way I want it. Now all I need to do is square up these corners with a nice sharp chisel.